Okay, so we'll try to do a little model here. I will try to do a little model of the trip operon for you. Okay, the straw is the operon, or the piece of DNA. The colored tapes are the different genes. So in this case, there's 5 sort of genes encoding the structural proteins that are going to be used to synthesize tryptophan. So there's 5 of those. The bendy part of the straw is the promoter region. I realize my handwriting is not that great. The black line in the bendy part is the operator. The noodle is the RNA polymerase. The yarns are going to be the mRNAs. The beads are the ribosomes, and the pipe cleaners are going to be the proteins. So basically, the polymerase will bind to the promoter. It'll move down the operon, and as it comes to each gene, that mRNA will get made. So I'm at the yellow gene now. The yellow mRNA will get made. It'll keep going. And since this is bacteria, prokaryotic, as the mRNA gets made, translation will sort of start simultaneously. So the yellow mRNA is made, and then the ribosome on the yellow one will start moving along and producing this yellow protein, okay, which will get made, and then, it'll become free, and it will fold, okay, into whatever shape it's supposed to have. This is a little rinky-dink, I get it, but I'm just trying to help you visualize it a little bit. The ribosome will keep moving. The white mRNA will get made. The ribosome will bind it and make the protein, and so on and so forth. So all 5 end up getting produced. Okay, we get 5 mRNAs. They each will get some ribosomes. They'll bind and they'll make 5 different proteins. Okay, so that's normally what happens, and think about whether that happens when there's tryptophan present in the cell or not present. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Okay, the other thing here is this repressor could bind, right? So if there's a repressor bound at the operator, this will be my repressor, this little clip. It's bound right there. It's going to block that RNA polymerase from being able to transcribe. Okay, so that's what happens when there's a repressor. Clearly, we will not be able to make the proteins coming off of this trip operon. All right, so again, the question is, under what conditions is this operon working or not working? Okay, so let's finish talking about this. Here's what's going on. Okay, the trip operon is a repressible operon, which means it's normally, on, quote unquote, on. And remember, the job of this operon is to synthesize tryptophan. Okay, so it's normally turned on. So if we think about it, when would we want to shut it off? Like, what would be the signal for shutting off expression of this operon? Well, if its job is to make tryptophan, we would like it turned off if we already have high tryptophan levels, because we don't need to make more tryptophan if we already have a lot of tryptophan. Okay, and that's kind of shown here in this pathway. So here are the tryptophan enzymes that end up producing tryptophan, all right, which goes back and acts as a negative feedback loop. Okay, so if you have a repressible operon, what that means is normally it's turned on and it's shut off if you already have a lot of what the operon is going to make, which just makes sense if you think through it. Okay, so when there's no tryptophan, we want this to be turned on in order to make more tryptophan. So if that's going to happen, the repressor has to be inactive so that transcription will happen. That little paper clip is not going to be bound to the operator if we don't have any tryptophan, because we need to make some. All right. So if there is a lot of tryptophan, then of course that repressor is going to bind to that operator to block transcription. Again, we're not going to make more tryptophan if we already have some. Okay, so that's kind of the basic idea. And again, these repressors are encoded by a different gene, a regulatory gene. You really don't need to worry about the details except to understand that regulatory gene is not one of the 5 structural genes that's part of the trip operon. It's someplace else, but it makes some kind of protein that is going to act as a repressor. Okay? All right, so another kind of operon is the lack operon. Okay, and this is sort of the opposite. This is called an inducible operon, which means that normally it's turned off, but it can be induced to be turned on. Okay, and the job of the lac operon is to make proteins needed to break down lactose. Okay, so if your cells have a lot of lactose in there, I should say if the bacterial cells have a lot of lactose and they need to break it down, they would use their lac operon to produce the proteins that are going to do that. Okay, so again, when would we want to turn on expression of the lac operon? When we have high lactose or low lactose? Well, if the job of the lac operon is to break down lactose, we need to have it turned on when there's high lactose levels. All right, if we don't have a lot of lactose, we don't want to be breaking down the little that we have. And I shouldn't be speaking so, what's the word, euphemistically, right? Because I'm not a bacteria. Well, actually, reading an interesting book about that, but that's another topic. All right, so this is an inducible operon. If there's no lactose, if lactose is absent, the repressor is going to be active to block transcription. All right, because we don't want to make enzymes to break down lactose if we don't have any lactose. That would be counterproductive. Okay, if lactose is present, okay, that's going to actually inactivate the repressor. It's going to take the repressor out of the picture, allowing the polymerase to bind. Transcription of the lac operon will take place. These proteins that are needed to break down lactose are going to be made, and lactose will get broken down, which is great because lactose is present. So we want to turn on the genes that make the proteins to break down the lactose. Okay, so that's an inducible operon. All right, so again, this table kind of summarizes it. You know, really you don't need to memorize the details. Be able to look at a picture and sort of figure out what's going on. You're never going to have to reproduce these things from scratch. Okay, so try to understand, you know, if you have a inducible operon or repressible operon, you know what's going to happen in each situation. Okay, so there's one more little wrinkle to talk about, which is if there's a lot of glucose present. Okay, so for sugars, glucose is a much simpler sugar than lactose. Glucose is a monosaccharide and lactose is a disaccharide. So in the case of these bacteria, if there's glucose, that's a lot easier for them to break down and use. So they would prefer to use glucose from an energetic standpoint than lactose. So this is just another little wrinkle kind of for the lac operon. All right, if glucose is there, the bacteria don't want to spend energy making the proteins that will digest lactose. They'll just use the glucose. Okay, and then the other little wrinkle is that there's another system for controlling the rate of transcription of lactose degrading enzymes. Okay, which is like sort of a volume control. All right, so in the case of this glucose situation, if the bacteria don't have glucose, they're going to need to use lactose. Okay, so they are going to need the lac operon to be working. They're going to need transcription to be happening from the lac operon because the lac operon is making the enzymes to degrade lactose. So in the absence of glucose, they will need to use lactose, and then the activator, this CAP activator, will be activated to increase transcription from the lac operon. Okay, in the absence of glucose. In the presence of glucose, the bacteria are going to use glucose. So they're going to need that lac operon to be turned off. Okay, and so the activator is going to be turned off to decrease the rate of transcription, right? It's kind of like this whole double negative kind of thing, right? So the activator is off, all right, to turn down transcription from the lac operon because the bacteria could just use glucose. All right, so think through that. Try not to get too lost in the details. Think about the big picture, okay? And logically, I think it makes sense when you think it through. All right, so basically, right, there's a lot of regulatory mechanisms to ensure that cells make the proteins that they need when they need them, and signals are provided to tell the cells when to do different things. All right, so that, I think we will stop for now. Okay?